Welcome, radio listeners, to Sleepytime Radio Hour, your late-night slumber companion. I've got a lot planned for tonight's show, but nothing you really need to pay attention to. Just close your eyes and listen to the smooth, jazzy tones of my voice while I read you the latest news. Edwin Kostenmeyer III graced the town of Asbury today with his wonderful accordion playing. This is the most significant thing that happened in our little town today. That's small-town life for you folks. My buddies down at the Asbury Nation Report are working diligently to dig up the hottest stories, but we all know that Bob Hopkins dropping a can of beans would be front-page news. Edwin, 15, busted out his grandfather's accordion in the town square, right outside Dumplin's Diner. He delighted customers with his renditions of Somewhere Over the Rainbow and Summertime. His mother, Lillian, said that he'd been practicing for months and was planning on debuting an original song at the October Asbury Talent Show. Golly, Edwin, I'm sure excited to hear that. And maybe, if we're lucky, Sleepytime Radio will get a chance to broadcast the show for everyone. In other news, the broccoli harvest has been particularly good this year, and sales are up, in part thanks to the McCready Brothers' homemade commercial, which was syndicated on television sets all across Washington. McCready's broccoli, it's the greenest. The Asbury High Frogs played the Stony Brook Lemons, entering another match into the canon of what has become the hottest shuffleboard rivalry in Sparkling County. The students battled for hours, deep into the late evening, but the intense match was ultimately drawn. The Frogs and the Lemons are scheduled to play again in 2 months' time, and you can bet Sleepytime Radio will be there to get you the play-by-play. Also, I know you all care about what's going on with my plants. The cucumbers are doing well. It's early in the season, but they are starting to bloom. My green onions have taken root, and the petunias by my fence have begun taking over my neighbor's yard. He told me he didn't mind much. However, I am sorry to report that my tomato plants came under assault by a small strike force of bunnies. While adorable to look at, these fierce creatures made short work of all the green tomatoes less than a foot off the ground. I'm considering putting the tomato plant on some kind of table. All right, on to other important matters, such as advertisements. As usual, here are Bob's sales. He sent them to me in his own terrible handwriting, so you know they're straight from the source. Bob just got a big shipment of eggs from Kentucky, so if you buy 2 dozen, he'll throw in a 3rd dozen free. I think that'll be quite a few omelets, so take advantage of that deal before they're gone. Fresh chuck roast is $3 a pound, down from $4 last month. And finally, Bob is running a special on Mountain Cola. If you haven't tried the refreshing, misty taste of Mountain Cola, it's like taking a fresh breath of Rocky Mountain air. Just imagine you're gliding down the slopes of Mount Washington on your brand new skis, enjoying the revivifying breeze. That's that Mountain Cola feeling. All right, Sleepytime Radio listeners, it's time for the part of the show everyone's waiting for. A message from our mayor, my wife, Rosalie. Now, as you know, Rosalie is too shy to get on the old microphone, but she has entrusted me with the responsibility of bringing her message to the people. So without further ado, here is your nightly message from our mayor. What's the deal with hot dogs, anyway? These tubes of pink paste are certainly appetizing to children, but the average adult generally steers clear of these Coney Island sausages. However, Clark Stuber, the runner-up in last year's election, and my primary rival, considers the hot dog to be the most American meal a citizen can eat. He tops his with mustard and relish. Perhaps it is because he's not a Washington local, but some big-time New York City lawyer. I'll tell you what Asbury residents eat that's American, Mr. Stuber. Broccoli. The major export of our little town, and the greatest vegetable on the planet. Nothing fills you up or keeps your children healthy like a head of broccoli. And every Asbury resident should save a place for broccoli on their dinner plates. They certainly shouldn't save a place for hot dogs. In case you haven't heard, people call hot dogs Frankfurters. And let me tell you, Frankfurt isn't a small town in Kansas. I'll leave you with this, radio listeners. Have a happy, healthy summer. Don't forget to visit Asbury Lake for some wet fun. A perfect place for children. We've just revitalized the whole waterfront and rid it of that pesky salamander infestation, a project that, as you know, I introduced to the city council, and I got everyone's signatures for the petition to refurbish the old dock and add an artificial beachfront. Now you can feel the sand between your toes as you enjoy the fresh lake air. I took the first swim myself. Feel free to bring your grills, but don't forget to grill a little broccoli, and no hot dogs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, dear radio listeners, that's it for the message from the mayor. She's giving me a thumbs up, so I hope I did a good job. Personally, I like a good hot dog, but with the classic Asbury toppings of choice, broccoli, cheese, and onions. Before we move on to our main event, please enjoy this brief sponsored break. I've been invited by the great Lilliputty tailors to try their latest slacks, made with the best textiles from our local mill, just 100 miles north of us in Winston Peak. These are 100% cotton slacks, and let me tell you, the feel is incredible. They're cool and breezy, perfect for that mountain summer. Also sponsoring the show is Marigold's butter products. Salted butter, unsalted butter, whipped butter, creamed butter, honey butter, broccoli butter. Any butter you can think of, you can find at Marigold's. As always, her cart is on Old Fourth Road, right outside Marigold Ranch. If you don't want butter, you can meet her dairy cows, Constance and Bradley. They're big old girls, but like all creatures, they love a good scratch behind the ear. And now it's time for me to bring out my dusty pile of papers. I know all of you are eager for the next chapter of Luann Rogers, Spy Detective. Well, let me tell you, I was up late in the night working on this chapter for all of you, and I think it's my best one yet. So I hope you enjoy, as we return to Luann and her current mission, which has taken her to the Hollywood Hills as she hunts down the greatest enemy she's yet faced, a communist. When we last left Luann, she had just checked into the Hotel Royale on Sunset Boulevard. Side note, it's an excellent place to stay if you're visiting Los Angeles. She quickly discovered that her room was bugged. Who could have done this? And did it have anything to do with the pesky FBI agent who's been following her around? Now we rejoin Luann at the hotel bar. It's nearly midnight, but she can't sleep. She's turning everything over in her head. Her girl detective instincts are telling her that something isn't right, and her woman spy instincts are telling her she's being watched. But by who? And from where? She decides to act natural, play it cool. Nobody would suspect her of being a detective or a spy. When you heard about the most effective spy on the West Coast, code-name Silence, you didn't expect a woman, and that's why she was so effective. But there was another reason she was sitting at that hotel bar. Whoever planted the listening device in her room had to be nearby, and if she played her cards right, she might be able to find out who it was. She downed her water, which was made to look like a martini. Maybe whoever was stalking her would get careless if they thought she was drunk. It was then that a man saddled up to Luann's right. He slipped onto the bar stool. Her eye caught on his sleeve. He wore cufflinks that bore a golden M. "Well, hello there," he said. "I haven't seen you around here before." Luann glanced up at his face. He was a clean-shaven man, looked a bit like a young Cary Grant. His slicked-back brown hair complemented his too shiny smile. He had that L.A. gleam, the one that told you he'd spent a little too long in the glamorous light of Hollywood and had a tan that went a few inches too deep. "Do you often spend time at this hotel bar?" Luann asked. She decided to take up a flirty posture. This could be the man who was following her. "It's the hottest spot in town," he said. "Buy you a drink?" "Why don't you tell me why you're so eager to talk to strange women at bars?" Luann asked. "I couldn't help but notice the ring on your finger." The man smiled. "This old thing?" he said, holding up his hand. The silver band sparkled. "I think you'll find it's not worth much in this town. But I don't want to talk to you about wedding rings, or because you're a strange woman. In fact, we're not strangers at all." He flagged down the bartender. Luann was already searching for an exit. The man ordered 2 martinis. "I think I should be going, actually," Luann said. "Stay," the man said. "It'll be a lot easier for both of us." Luann scanned the hotel lobby. She had a feeling this man didn't make idle threats. He had goons somewhere, just waiting for this meeting to go south. "You say we know each other," Luann said. "How's that?" "I've sent you a few letters," he answered. "I'm a big fan." "Letters?" Luann stared at the man, astonished. He was Cardinal? "How did you find me?" Luann said. Her martini arrived, and she took a sip. She hated martinis, but she needed something stiff right now, something that would keep her alert. "I knew you were coming," he said. "And there's only one hotel worth staying in all of L.A. "Were you the one who left that little present in my room?" she asked. He frowned. "Present?" "Guess not," Luann said. So somebody else had bugged her, which meant somebody else was following her. She took another glance around the room. "Maybe we should get out of here," she said. "Do you have anywhere your wife couldn't find us?" She hoped he would pick up on the double meaning. Did he have anywhere safe to talk? "We're moving so fast," he said. "I've barely sipped my martini." "I'm feeling urgent," she said. The last thing she wanted was for whoever bugged her room to see her talking to Cardinal, or to overhear any of their conversation. Cardinal downed his martini in a single gulp. "Follow me," he said. "Actually," she said, "I need to use the ladies' room. Why don't you head out and I'll meet you? Do you have a car?" Cardinal nodded. "Great," she said. 10 minutes. I'll meet you out back." Cardinal seemed to understand. He took a suspicious look around the room, then stood up and dusted himself. "Well," he said, "I guess I'll see you around." "Maybe," she said. Once Cardinal had left, she headed back toward her hotel room. Maybe she was being too careful, but something told her not to underestimate Red Butterfly. She shut the door behind her, then changed her clothes. She put her hair up and stuffed it into a wide-brimmed hat, which would probably look out of place on Sunset Boulevard, but it was all she had. Once she was finished, she went to the window. A knock came at her door. She froze. Who would be knocking at her door? Cardinal? She pulled her curtains aside. No, Cardinal was exactly where she'd told him to be. She spotted him waiting behind the hotel in his car. The knock came at her door again, louder this time. Her heart began to race. It couldn't be room service, could it? She was hoping to slip out the back hotel entrance, but she would have to think of something else, and fast. A loud bang sounded from the door, and it rocked in its frame. Whoever was out there was planning to barge right in. Could she jump? No. There were 2 stories between her and the ground floor. Jumping would result in a broken foot, at the very least. She slid open the window, poked her head out. A gust of wind blew her hat off, and it went soaring toward the street. A new noise came from the door, a metal clicking. Whoever was out there had decided to pick the lock. She cursed under her breath. She was about to be another bullet-riddled dame in a Hollywood hotel, with her picture in the paper. Another unnamed hooker shot dead on Sunset. It was that, or crazy woman leapt to her death. She decided she'd rather be crazy than a hooker. She threw her legs over the windowsill and jumped into the midnight air. All right, folks, that's it for Chapter 4. Tune in next time for the next chapter of Luann's thrilling adventure. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed writing it. And now we'll end off, as we always do, with a direct message, straight from the heart. Be kind to each other. The world doesn't have enough kindness. Say what you feel out loud before it's too late. Don't let anyone tell you broccoli doesn't taste great, and always try to have a smile on your face. You'll never regret the second slice of pie, but it won't ever taste as sweet as the first. And, last but not least, always get a good night's sleep. This has been Sleepytime Radio Hour, and we'll be back next week with more news, more Mayor Rosalie, and more Luann. I'll see you then, radio listeners, and until we meet again, sleep well.